Hello to the readers of the Whispers of Calm channel. This channel shares knowledge and relaxes the soul through books and music every weekend, based on personal experiences. I hope these will be useful to you, making your life better and more interesting. As I have mentioned before, life has two treasures. One is the freedom of thought, and the other is the freedom to move. However, even though we are born into freedom, few truly reach genuine freedom. Most people are bound by invisible chains. This transforms the journey of life into a relentless battle to liberate oneself. But why, despite our efforts, do we still find it hard to break free? The main reason lies in three types of shackles that everyone must face. These are the chains that we often lack the awareness and courage to decisively remove at the right moment. If we do not recognize and liberate them in time, we will forever be constrained, unable to achieve true freedom and happiness. So, what are these three types of shackles? The classic novel of Human Bondage will provide you with deeper insights to find answers for yourself. This is a semi-autobiographical work by the famous English writer William Somerset Maugham. Previously, I introduced the book The Moon and Sixpence by this author. The idea for this novel was conceived by Maugham when he was 23 years old. It wasn't until he was 37 that he completed the manuscript. Upon its release, the book was praised as a masterpiece, quickly becoming a classic and translated into many languages. Now let's listen to a sharing by Peter Rosen titled 3 Chains to Break in Life. Through the novel of Human Bondage by Paul, we learn that shedding the shackles of self-doubt about an imperfect self is essential for reconciling with oneself. The main character, Philip, loses both his parents at the age of 19 and has to live with his uncle. However, his uncle is conservative and rigid, making Philip's life filled with pressure and boredom from a young age. Worse still, Philip has a physical disability in one leg. His limp, solitary life and physical imperfection make him very shy, insecure, and sensitive. At school, he is mocked by many classmates. Some force Philip to take off his shoes to see his foot, others imitate his walk, and some even kick his leg. Philip strives to fit in, wanting to live like those around him. But the more he tries, the more he is ridiculed. The immense psychological pressure causes Philip's academic performance to decline, and even teachers cruelly call him a crippled fool. When he reaches high school, he still cannot escape the mockery and humiliation from his peers. Gradually, he becomes psychologically obsessed, increasingly insecure and withdrawn. His physical imperfection becomes a thorn in his heart. Even as an adult, just hearing the words crippled makes Philip tense, his face flush, his heart racing, and his hands trembling. In such moments, he feels a deep hatred and resentment towards his own body. When looking for a job, Philip also faces many difficulties due to his leg disability. In love, he feels insecure, thinking that any woman will reject him. Many years later, Philip matures and becomes a doctor. One day, he receives a patient who is a boy with a leg disability. Seeing the boy, Philip feels as if he is looking at his younger self, so he is very careful in his communication. However, the boy is carefree, smiling and saying that he just looks a bit different, showing that it does not significantly affect his life. A light-hearted comment, but it carries the weight of 1,000 pounds, awakening Philip. Indeed, why do we place so much importance on what others deem beautiful or excellent? Because we have always longed for those things. The more you crave beauty and perfection to gain recognition from the majority, the more the eyes, words, and actions of others can directly affect your psyche. The more you are influenced, the more insecure you become, and the more you crave perfection. This is a vicious cycle. You are trapped in an invisible prison, shackled by the chains of insecurity. Here we see that the author uses Philip's physical disability to point out a necessary truth. Everyone has imperfections, whether physical or mental. Just like in the classic psychology book by Adler that I previously shared about insecurity, each of us has some degree of inferiority complex, if not in one area, then in another. Insecurity can stem from being too fat or too thin, too tall or too short, having unattractive teeth, an unappealing face, dark skin, or too many pimples. Insecurity can arise from poor academic performance, from feeling that one's job is not as respectable as others, from not having a high level of education, from congenital disabilities, from being LGBT, or from being born in a body that does not match one's identity. Ultimately, we are all insecure about an imperfect self. When facing insecurity, people typically exhibit two major types of behavior. The first is avoidance, and the second is defensiveness. Those who avoid will withdraw and try to avoid all situations that may cause feelings of insecurity or discomfort. They limit their participation in social activities, public events, and meetings with friends. This is a behavior that isolates oneself, limiting the potential for development, and sometimes leading to procrastination and indecisiveness. The truth is, the more you isolate yourself, the more your desire to fit in and be like others will spiral, and the more you crave acceptance, the more insecure you become. Thus, they will never be able to free themselves from the chains of their own insecurities. On the other hand, those who exhibit defensive behavior will react to protect themselves from feelings of hurt, criticism, or judgment by frequently seeking validation and affirmation from others. For example, they may deliberately expose their flaws to seek subtle recognition. This is known as self-deprecating behavior. When someone frequently says, "I've gained too much weight, I'm too short," or "this outfit doesn't look good on me," what they really want to hear from others is, "No, you're not overweight," or "No, you look good in that outfit." However, these words only provide fleeting comfort, leaving behind a lingering sense of inferiority. Deep down, they know these are just comforting lies. Yet, despite knowing this, they continue to deny themselves. This is akin to an internal drama that only adds to their suffering. If a person continuously dwells on their pain, stubbornly clinging to their self-deprecation, they will never escape the shackles of life. The only way to break these chains is to stop comparing oneself to others, to stop focusing on one's flaws and shortcomings, and to recognize that being imperfect is not a bad thing. The journey of life is a continuous process of shedding one's chains, but sometimes awareness can come in a single thought, just like Philip. After changing his mindset, he suddenly realizes that fate has left him with a physical disability, but it has also granted him other unique qualities. He says, "If my leg were not disabled, I would not have the sensitivity I possess." The books he has read, the paths he has walked, and the pains he has endured have made him understand that it is precisely his disability that has made life challenging. But it is also this disability that has given him the ability to introspect deeply, to appreciate the beauty of art and life. From then on, Philip calmly accepts his imperfect self, ultimately freeing himself from the shackles of insecurity and inferiority, achieving reconciliation and self-redemption. There is a saying, "A flower that has not fully bloomed, a moon that is not yet full, is the most beautiful." Because if all the flowers bloom fully, they will inevitably wither. If the moon is full every day, it will surely have days of waning. In this world, nothing is perfect, but it is precisely this imperfection that makes you unique in your own way. If we look through the lens of comparison with others and believe that they possess something more perfect than we do, then when we turn back to look at ourselves, our focus will be entirely on our own flaws. Thus, it becomes very difficult to see our strengths and unleash our true potential. Only when you let go of the chains of insecurity can you strive to change what can be changed positively, naturally, without comparison, and focus on yourself. As for what you cannot change, accept it. At this point, the opinions and judgments of others will no longer matter to you. And only then can you truly reach freedom, just like Philip, who can begin to walk freely and calmly on his imperfect legs. Leo Tolstoy once said something very interesting. All change, all allure, and all beauty in life are composed of light and shadow. When you learn to accept the imperfections of life, you also gain the strength to step out of the darkness and discover your true value. Deciding to break the chains of persistent mistakes is the only way to see the right path ahead. Choosing what profession to pursue is a question that everyone must face on their life journey. Philip is no exception. His uncle, a clergyman, wants him to follow in his deceased father's footsteps and become a doctor. Although Philip is unsure of what he wants to do, he refuses his uncle's plans because he hates being a clergyman and a doctor. Through an acquaintance's introduction, Philip has to work in an accounting office. Before long, the mundane tasks of sitting in front of numbers bore him. Philip has always had a special passion for painting. His friends see his paintings and believe he has artistic talent, which nurtures his dream of becoming a painter. He persuades his aunt to support him financially and then heads to Paris with great hope to study painting. Upon arrival, Philip feels he has found like-minded people, all passionately discussing art and life over coffee. Until he meets a girl named Price, everything begins to change. Price is a very diligent girl, determined to practice painting. After a while, the painting teachers observe that she lacks talent and straightforwardly advise her to find something more suitable for herself. However, this girl does not believe her teachers and firmly believes that with perseverance, she can succeed. As a result, none of her paintings sell and she becomes increasingly impoverished. Ultimately, she becomes desperate and takes her own life in a shabby room. Price's story has a profound impact on Philip. For the first time, he begins to doubt his choices. Unable to contain himself, he asks his teacher whether he has the talent to paint. The teacher does not directly answer this question, but tells Philip a story. This story is also found in another famous novel by Maugham, The Moon and Sixpence. The story is about a stockbroker named Strickland, who has a stable career, a prosperous family, and happiness. But one day, he suddenly abandons everything. He goes to Paris alone to pursue his dream of becoming a painter. He says, "I feel like a dead man. Only painting can save me." With endless passion, Strickland ultimately achieves his wish, becoming a painter and finding his own happiness. After hearing this story, Philip realizes that true artists beyond talent must have an intense passion for what they do. In a recent video, I shared about the persistent perseverance of the genius Van Gogh. One viewer commented that the line between perseverance and stubbornness is very thin. In reality, this line is not as thin as we think. It only becomes blurred when you are unclear about yourself. This requires us to learn to observe and feel ourselves from the inside out, and to answer the following questions. What do you enjoy doing? Are you capable of excelling at it? Do you feel joy and happiness while doing it? Are you willing to face all difficulties in the process? Do you consider the gains and losses when choosing to move forward? Do you work solely to achieve some material goal, to earn a lot of money, to gain fame and high status? Do you have a strong passion for your work? Do you have enough motivations so that no one and nothing can stop you from moving forward? If you meet all these conditions, then persevere with your choice. Just like Van Gogh, like Strickland in The Moon and Sixpence, or like Santiago, the shepherd boy in The Alchemist. If not, then be like Philip in this novel and take the time to reflect on yourself. Philip clearly realizes that he does not have a strong passion for painting. After much thought, he decides to abandon painting and study medicine in London. Since this decision was made after careful consideration, he diligently studies throughout the process. Thanks to his relentless efforts, he obtains his medical license. In the process of healing and saving many people, Philip increasingly feels his own value, becoming more confident and stronger. He now realizes that the profession that truly suits him is that of a doctor. There is a saying, persevering in a mistake is not a form of courage. It is stubbornness that leads to survival and the search for purpose. Philip can find the field in which he truly excels and is passionate. Many things require clear awareness and the courage to let go at the right moment, shedding the chains of persistent mistakes. Philip's character is like that, and so is our life. If you know you lack the ability to do a certain job but still stubbornly pursue it, you will ultimately achieve nothing. Only by letting go of this stubbornness can you see the right path ahead, do what you excel at, and find yourself deep within your soul. As the famous writer Hermann Hesse said, "For each person, there is only one true task, to find oneself and then hold on to it in the soul for a lifetime." Breaking the chains of wrong relationships is the only way to begin loving yourself and living freely. While studying painting in Paris, Philip falls in love with a waitress named Mildred. This girl has an ordinary face, pale skin, and an unhealthy appearance, yet Philip is passionately infatuated with her. Over time, Philip realizes that this girl has mediocre thoughts, a harsh, practical, rigid, greedy, vain, dishonest character, and poor morals. Every time they go out, she frantically shops, but despite his financial difficulties, Philip willingly spends all his money on her. The two do not share the same level of thinking and have few topics to discuss. To avoid making her feel bored, Philip always tries to entertain her and make her happy. Not only that, but this girl is also promiscuous, involved with many other men. Faced with her betrayal and lack of respect, Philip still finds it hard to let go of his feelings for her. When Mildred becomes pregnant by another man and is abandoned, she returns to seek him out. Philip does not complain, but willingly stays by her side, nurturing the baby with even more burning affection. He knows he is merely waiting for a train to arrive at the station. Even though she does not love him, he still tries to seek a non-existent affection from her. He hates himself for loving so unconditionally, for lowering himself so much that his feelings become severely unbalanced. Yet he cannot break free. Sometimes he thinks he is not good enough to have her, and he is willing to do anything. He believes that sincerity will eventually earn him true love, but in the end, what does he receive? All that remains is the craving of desire, a blind stubbornness, and the humiliation of repeated deceptions. Later, blinded by materialism, Mildred becomes a promiscuous woman and suffers from sexual diseases. Ultimately, she disappears from Philip's life, leaving him with nothing in his pockets, forced to wander the streets. A wrong love has cost him immense pain. As time passes and he reflects, Philip understands that he did not truly love a specific person. He only loved his own ego, desires, and stubbornness. As pointed out in the book The Road Less Traveled, all emotional impulses, loving to possess or depend on others, are not true love. Philip's love is intense but blind, driven by a craving to be loved, akin to a chain that confines his soul. Just like a chain that confines his soul. Maugham wrote in the novel that this love is merely a facade. He hates himself for allowing desire to take over, making him a prisoner of his own longing for freedom. Later, Philip meets Mildred again. He is still willing to help her, but only out of kindness. He also meets someone with whom he shares a deep connection. The two marry in mutual love. When he truly lets go of his attachments and frees himself from the bondage of desire in a wrong relationship, Philip finally feels relieved and free. True love is compassion, understanding, and giving each other freedom, growing and developing together to become the best version of oneself. On the other hand, love driven by desire seeks to possess or depend on the other person. It only leads you to sink deeper, eroding your true self. Timely awareness and the ability to discard these chains allow us to walk in freedom and learn how to love ourselves and others genuinely. There is a famous saying, "Everything has cracks so that light can shine through." Life has many ups and downs. Each person carries their regrets and imperfections, walking alone. Perhaps it is a physical defect, perhaps it is the imperfection of the self, perhaps it is unfavorable circumstances in a career or emotional pain. Dissatisfaction often occupies a large part of the journey of life. When you find yourself in such a difficult and unclear situation, try to calm down and read this book. Perhaps you will find the courage to change your life's destiny. Philip in this book uses his ups and downs to tell us that only when you truly shed the chains of insecurity about your imperfections can you fully reconcile with your heart, step out of the dark circle of inferiority, and transform insecurity into transcendence. Only by shedding the chains of persistent mistakes in your work can you find passion and discover your true value. Only by shedding the chains of wrong emotions can you finally live fully and mature in balanced relationships. And when you break those chains, you can begin to truly love yourself, learn to love others, and live a life of freedom. There is a saying that a single thought can become a demon, and a single thought can become a Buddha. Your destiny will change. Everything begins with a single thought. Have you truly wanted to break the chains of life and find yourself? Clinging stubbornly to attachments confines you. Letting go of attachments will set you free. Thank you for listening. If you find this video helpful, please share it with those who need it. Give me a like, hit the subscribe button, and turn on the notification bell to catch my latest videos every week. Once again, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next videos.